We're getting another perspective on recent crime in Minneapolis. City Council member Steve Fletcher spoke to WCCO today about the increase in violence. Our David Schuman has more on what it means for the efforts to replace the police department.
The Minneapolis City Council is battling what Steve Fletcher calls a false narrative. The Ward 3 representative says the council's desire to replace the police department should have nothing to do with MPD's response to a summer crime surge, because the only defunding has been a 5% COVID budget cut.
The patrol numbers are just as strong as they were last year. The number of 911 calls has not changed, but we are seeing changes in response that really aren't explainable by budget cuts.
Since Memorial Day, violent crime in Minneapolis is up 25% compared to the same period last year. Yet the number of service calls responded to in that time frame is down 38%. Since Chief Madera Arredondo says there are enough patrol officers, Fletcher says it's a problem if the fewer calls are MPD trying to prove a political point.
We can't change them without talking about them. And if that means that sometimes there are hurt feelings, that is probably part of how public life works, and people still need to show up and do the jobs they say they're going to do and that they're collecting a paycheck for.
Last week, the head of the 3rd Precinct emailed the owner of a business near 48th and Chicago that there's no long-term plan to deal with crime in the area. He cited budget cuts and low staffing. The email alarmed Fletcher.
Seeing someone at the top using that kind of rhetoric and really undermining people's sense of optimism and our ability to problem solve as a city, I think is very upsetting, because it really indicates that we have some deeper problems.
Fletcher says it's more important than ever to look at new ways to respond to public safety issues. David Schuman, WCCO 4 News.
MPD didn't respond to our request for comment today. Last week, after we reported on the email that said there is no long-term policing plan, the department said in a statement that it continues to evaluate and reallocate the resources that it currently has to best serve the city.